Greetings everyone, I'm Sophis, and this is the long-form video showcasing the mod list that I've mentioned in the shorter video. So this is supposed to be a mod list makes that shows basically a vanilla plus experience, more or less. It's meant to be as non-intrusive as possible and to be enjoyable. So will be pretty much normal playthrough with the mods. Of course, I'll try and highlight everything as it comes by. And I might do some jump cuts here and there because this isn't meant to be a let's play in full. It's meant to just be pretty much the highlights when I do make use of the modded things. At this moment, there's just a few things that I can already show right from the get-go. For instance, the rework expanding the hero trees. And so yes, expanding the hero, the tech, well, not the tech trees, but expanding all the skills and showing everything. So here, the Gunnery White has a few options. For instance, this whole part is brand new, of course, and you basically pick whichever of those three fits a particular role, and you go for it. And it's very nice, good to specialize each Gunnery White. Sometimes you do want to run an army with multiple of them, and this is a nice way to have them fill out different roles. You know, you have a more, shall we say, there's more of a. This one is more about group buffs. This one is more about being a sniper, and this one is more about melee combat, effectively. And of course, there's some other stuff like this stern to stern, which, as you can see, the general design philosophy is the extra stuff that's coming in. It makes you make a choice, and you have a lot of options to play around with. So it's very neat. I think it gives more personality than just being these usual trees and this and just at the bottom, you know. Usually when you get a Gunnery White at a certain level, you're pretty much full up here, full in these two, which are the vanilla ones, and you just start filling out the bottom because, you know, you have nothing to do with the skill points. But this instead gives you more depth. Very nice, very neat. I of course can't show yet the skills because, you know, just started, no levels yet to show any of the variants, but I can already put him in the first army. And another thing I can show right off the bat is the technology tree. This is what we have on vanilla, which is pretty much these 4 squares. And it's very simple. You know, you research one of these 4 and a square opens up for you. It's a very basic tech tree, but it has some decent stuff. And this, the mod adds a lot more depth to it by giving you a whole other part of it, basically a whole branch of it. And it focuses on, for instance, giving certain units some buffs. As you can see, these 3 are different, focuses on different units from the roster. And here's kind of mixed, you know, treasure hunt, and this is about your garrison, and here we have a hero and general kind of thing. And this is general overall research. In fact, this has become, with this mod, my preferred starting technology, because extra research rate, Vampire Coast doesn't get a lot of that, so it's very nice to speed up the general research, even for vanilla things. So yeah, aside from that, I don't think there's much else that I can show right from the get-go. We don't have the carronades here yet. One alteration that I do mention in the video that's sort of a extra part of one of the mods, but not the focus of it, is here, the animated Hulk. He has this skill which permits, basically makes your front line more durable. It's fairly interesting. Early game, this makes the deckhands have a lot more value to them as meat shields, because you are giving them a significant amount of physical resistance pretty much for free just by having them in range, and they hold your line a little better because they are better than this general chaff. But it gives them a role, basically. Usually in vanilla, I don't really bother with them, because usually with the Vampire Coast, they are a ranged faction, of course, so having strong melee usually doesn't matter a lot, and these guys are very easy to replace, versus this, which takes building to, either in your ship or in a settlement, so I've more rarely played with him. But the fact that I have this now, and I might get it from like big battle sites, now they are an interesting option. So even though it wasn't an intended change, it just came with one of the mods, I do think it's a very pleasant option, because it does add a little something for it in the roster. So without further ado, let's just go for this. Let me just see. Okay, yes, I just need to raise the handgun, and that should be it. I will manually fight these two battles, because if I don't, of course I will win and auto-resolve both of these, but if I do so, for this battle I will be fairly weakened, and it will be much more costly as a victory in the early game than if I play this manually. So I like to beat these two manually, so this one I can auto-resolve, because it's a little more annoying. It has a lot of moving parts, and I could manual it, but then if I manual every single one, it's just gonna slow things down. Anyway, here we go. This should be a very simple battle. I may even cut this battle from the final video, because it's a very simple battle. Nothing too special should happen here. So what probably will happen is I'm just gonna set things up here, and I'll just show off the animated Hulk's ability. Then you'll probably have a jump cut post this, and maybe post the other battle, because there's really not so much to showcase as far as the early game is concerned with the alterations that were made. It will only be more relevant, for instance, when I do get a Pirate Cove going, and when I do get the carronades and all that. And of course in the later stages, when there's more technology heroes and the new frontliner unit, the Varg Alley. So yeah, I'll see you then. For now, I'll pretty much just play through this and get out of the early game. But yeah, before you go, as you can see here, the new ability on the animated Hulks, and it's affecting just these two units, but it's good, because sometimes you do have stress points on your formation with the Vampire Coast, and this helps the stress points go better, because it's going to be a flank that's going to take a lot of damage, or it's the center and you want the center to hold. So yeah, it's very, very neat, very neat. So yeah, now I should be doing the jump cut. Hey everyone, it's a few turns later. We are at turn 8, of course, and so I have something to showcase. I've just sacked Burgone and put a Pirate Cove in it. And some of you may notice that there are more options than the usual 4 that you have in vanilla. And they are, well, some are the vanilla ones, of course, adjusted, but there are new things. And for instance, this, the shipbreaker yard is very good. It's basically a staging ground for any assaults that you may want to make, because it provides you with some very useful gunpowder units. It gives you some income and an army ability for the local and adjacent region. So you set this up on a coast and you can plunder along, and you'll have the benefit of this shipbreaker yard, which is basically a summon. It's something a little Skaven style, very neat. Basically, free troops that you can just toss in anywhere. Very good. You still have the classic, for instance, the Picaroon's Hideout, which is good for something like Lothern, the high value ports where you slap one of those and you just siphon their income. That wasn't changed. But overall, the focus is to be more, to shift the economy more in favor of having the coves. So you keep a more pirate lifestyle, or rather, a playstyle. So yes, in effect, for instance, the Wrecker's Point. This gives you a changeling-like mechanic, which lets you hide within region, and it's attrition. You have options. You just have one slot. There are mods that change so that you have more slots, but I think one slot is still plenty. I prefer the idea of having more options and less spaces, because otherwise this would just become another Undercity or mechanic, and I think it works well as one slot, and you choose just what you might need for your particular situation. Like, you may want this to just be something that provides you money, or you want this to be a staging point for your defense. So it's very good to have those options and not overdo it and just make it basically a whole pirate city under city. I think that would be a little too much. It would break the balance more than just this, because this already gives quite a benefit. All the buildings, with the exception of the Picaroon's Hideout, they all now provide you with income, which was, the point, to provide more focus and incentive for you to go and establish those scopes. So this is one of the things I could show off. As far as the tech tree goes, I only researched this. Reading alphabets and Longtime Library is about to finish. And as soon as it does, I'll look into other technologies, maybe on the new tree, maybe on the old tree. But the acceleration of research rate is very good early on. It pays off to have it earlier than later. So, yes, I don't really have much else to show. For instance, the Gunnery White hasn't really leveled so much that he can grab any of the new things. So for now, I'm just going down the typical expected path when you have the vanilla Gunnery White. So I'll check in with you in a few more turns. I'll probably do another jump cut to a point when I have more things to show off, such as the carronades and more the heroes in a more leveled up state, and possibly the higher tier units like the Vargali. So see you then. It should probably just be a few moments in the cut. Hey everyone, so quick jump cut here, and I had an opportunity to get the cannons early on before other things, so it's a very simple mod, like I said. they do get the grape shot, and as you can see, the range changes just like with the regular. You can set it up however you want. I will try to show it off a little bit here. This isn't a tough fight by any means. This is just plundering one of the Bretonnian cities and their weakened garrison, so this should be mostly target practice. So I will try and keep these guys alive enough to show off the carronades, but it's pretty standard. It shouldn't be anything out of the ordinary. Of course, they are firing normally. I will try and set them up for, yeah, the grape shot. They fired their normal rounds. As you can see, they have a far superior range with those, but with the grape shot, it's vastly reduced. I will check to see if perhaps with the technology upgrades, because there are a few range upgrades in the tech tree, if the grape shot still applies or as expected or not, but we'll see. I'll try and see if I can get that information. So yeah, this isn't anything special. For now, the mortars are already ripping this poor garrison, but they will probably get far enough to... I should probably just keep the mortars down for now, because they will decimate this whole army if I don't. Maybe just set them on, yeah, the archers, just so they don't cause any undue damage to the troops, because this is just meant to be a small demonstration. I don't want to take any losses. And as you can see, because of the Pirate Cove, I also got access to deck gunners, and they're doing quite a number. But oh, they're finally walking into the grape shot range, and as you can see, one of them fired already, shredded this unit of men-at-arms, and it's fairly effective. Of course, the accuracy isn't 100%, but still pretty good. Of course, with more chevrons and ranks, this will be very deadly. But yeah, this is pretty much it. Just wanted to do a quick little battle that's simple enough and just show off the effectiveness of the grape shot. Of course, there are, like I said, other units doing the work. Of course, the handgunners and the deck gunners and the mortars are doing a lot of the work, but that's expected. It's a gunpowder faction. As you can see, even though the grape shot is very powerful, it didn't remove the importance of the other units. They still pulled a lot of the weight to shred this up before it made to the melee lines. So I think it's a good addition. It's probably better for certain scenarios more than others. You still will want, of course, the standard range for some engagements. But yeah, just want to show it off. I think it's a neat strategic option. Very nice. They probably should have just added it in a patch in the same time Thrones of Decay came out and they gave the Empire and the Dwarves all that love. I think the Vampire Coast, since they do borrow a few units from that, they should also get that little bit of love. I think it really doesn't break the game to just give them straight up grape shots. It helps, but I don't think it is anything even close to overpowered as other things that some factions get. So yeah, I'll see you in the next jump cut. Hey everyone, we are quite a few turns into the game now. We are at turn 46, as you can see. And I feel this was a more relevant jump cut than showing all the way to here. So by now, I've gotten access to Queen Bess and some more advanced stuff, and more particularly the Varg Alley. So by now I can show it off. I'll just show a little bit of the progress. For instance, I've been hitting up ports and establishing pirate coves. So I'm mixing and matching the possible combos. For instance, this one that gives you a changeling-like ability to hide yourself, and this one to keep growing my capacity for vampire fleet captains. I've basically kept the initial province with Luthor Haken, where I'm just developing the awakening and all that. And here I have a second army that has been in quite a few scraps along the way. I used the recruitment trick to ensure that I got her at a good level. I waited until I had enough things to accumulate Lord recruitment level. I've kept quite a few factions alive, but mostly because I've just been sacking, so as you can see the treasury's been pretty great despite just holding one province, and the rest has been sustained through all the structures with the pirate coves. I've spread quite a few of them around. I was working myself up with an agent, for instance, to get this and High Sentinel and Temple of Kara. So a lot of the ports up here, you know, I have, I would say, maybe 10 of them by now, sustaining my economy, and I could comfortably raise more armies if I wanted to, but I hold so little territory that I can effectively just have these smaller pirate crews just going around sacking, getting gold. It's less empire building and more pretty much just playing pirates, uh, with some defense of this territory, of course, but for the most part, I've had this army holding the fort whilst I have Luthor Harkon sail around and do as he pleases. So it's been pretty fun, very enjoyable. I do think I'll just say, as an additional thought to what I've said in the shorter video, you do get quite powerful with the bonuses you get as you advance both in technology and the other new things you can get. I do think it's a bit of a power spike in a way compared to how they operate outside of vanilla, but I think it's good. I think it's pretty decent. And I don't think it's that disruptive. I think a lot of factions by turn 46 now, these first turns, a lot of factions are done. Korn would, have the world, Taurox. And I know those are very particular and powerful examples, but by this time you should have some pretty interesting goodies anyway. For instance, here I already have something to boost up. I went for increasing my missile weapons capacity, and I went with the branch of the Gunnery White Tree that boosts the army with passive abilities and all that. And I've been waiting for a good time to develop the ship. I got the essentials, basically. Got the... I could have Necrofax... I could have the Necrofax Colossus by now, but I just didn't want to stop the momentum to recruit them. But I did have a Lord cart over of Argali to deliver to Luthor Harkon, since I can't recruit them as him, so it was a little better. I didn't lose any momentum by just recruiting someone to just sail along and deliver him one of these so I could showcase it. And I've been, raising quite a bit of hell with it. It's a pretty good addition because the The Vampire Coast doesn't have really something in the way of cavalry, or even for sieges, sometimes you need that kind of mobility that you don't really have at the rest. It's a fairly make your camp and stay in it kind of faction, of course. Kind of like the dwarves were before they had the newer options added to them. And I do like having it as an option because then it's a very strong. I do think it's a little more overtuned than I sold it in the video, but in the short video that is. But I mean, a lot of centerpieces are fairly strong, and I think what owes this power to it is a Marienburg land ship. If memory serves right, has regular gunners on the edges, and it has the central cannon. So it's kind of like an upgraded, a mix of a steam tank with the war wagon. But this has basically it's being crewed by a crew with the hand cannons, so it shreds nearby opponents. It has a very good frontal cannon, and it has a mortar, so it's kind of like a land thunder barge in a way. It's very strong, and I'm going to demonstrate it here by declaring war on Warzag, who happened to be in a not at war with us, but since I do want to hit his port and he is sailing up here to fight Arkan, I figured I'd just intercept him at sea and show off the effect of the Var Galley and how far along the rest has developed with the mods. Okay, so starting deployment. This is a pretty standard sea battle, and yeah, shouldn't really be anything too difficult. The auto resolve said decisive victory, of course, but it's still greenskins and there's still forest, so my carelessness could cost me some damage to my army. So I will try and take this as seriously as I should, considering they can flank my forces. So just give me a moment while I set things up. If I do take a while to set everything up, I might do another jump cut, but if I don't take too long, I will just keep this continuous. It's just that as a gunpowder faction, I do want to check for any possible obstructions to terrain. I've gone over this on my videos talking about strategy, and yeah, I don't want to mess up. This map, for how common it is for sea battles, actually messes things up for longer range gunpowder, because this big freaking hill in the middle covers a lot of the enemy, and the forest certainly doesn't help. But I do think we'll still do fine. The upside, however, of this terrain is that since I will get stunted on the range, I can at least very safely switch to Grape Shot, because the range loss is negligible, considering I won't be able to make these shots anyway, so as soon as they come over the hill, they're gonna get hit with Grape Shot. So, Grape Shot here, and we should be set on the artillery. Let's just set the gunnery right. Be right in the middle. The buffs, of course. What we do want here is, I believe I'll try and have the Var Galley a little further, because since it is such a mobile unit, and I do want to show it off, of course, I want it closer by to the action. I could also have it over here, where it could start harassing them from here with the mortar, because it does have a mortar and at least handle this flank a little bit, which it can do fairly effectively. This might get a little micro-intensive because I do, as you can see, have a fairly varied army. I know this usually means more micro, but with Luthor Harkness, even in the late game, I prefer having a very traditional use as much of the roster as seems reasonable kind of army. With Noctiluce, of course, I mean, Doomstack away with the Necrofaxes, he's made for that, but I quite like having a more traditional army with Luthor. Warzag is a quite annoying possible nuisance due to his spell casting, so I'll see about disrupting him with Luthor, but primarily I do want to show off the Varghali. See, right from the start we're getting hit with a Spirit... Wait, is it the Spirit Leech? No, but we are getting hit with something. Now, the Varghali... You're gonna see right from the get-go that it is a very powerful war machine. Of course, it's not... sorry. It's not perfect. Oh! Now I've had all in place. That's kind of bad. Oh, the mortars are doing some damage. If you find the mortars weird, why they're green, it's the tech tree. At one point, one of the branches of the tech tree changes your mortars to basically Poison Wind from Skaven, although not the purple variant, which is very strong. It's still quite a fearsome thing to have. And I'm getting shot up with Luthor, but I think we're fine for now. I'll just dumbfire a bit all these abilities. I just want to make sure that Warzag doesn't really pose a problem to me. I think he's getting shredded quite nicely by Luthor. Oh, good. As far as the army is concerned, I think we're doing fine. They're keeping things fairly... Oh, firing at myself, that's the problem. See, this is why it sometimes needs a little micro, because I was a little distracted by everything else, and yeah, this fire at distant targets, not right at the troops, please. Now I will drop an invocation of... No, actually no, I do think at this point it might just be more prudent to just summon. As for this, let's get Enchanted Ballistics going. As you can see, the Varghali isn't, you know, super overpowered. It's still, you should still treat it as a chariot, but it did draw quite a bit of fire in the enemy army, and it's still trucking on, basically. But yeah, as you can see, it really was a decisive victory. It's just that it's greenskins and they have their whole chaotic thing going, where they're very good at swarming you with numbers, but they're not doing so well that, you know, they can overwhelm my front line as they might ideally want to. Now, these pump wagons might be a bit of an annoyance if I don't handle it. So, yeah, let me just try and keep things under wraps neatly. There we go. I do think that will do it. Sorry for pausing so much, it's just that really my micro isn't very good at all. But yes, let me just zoom in for a second so you can... I'll put it in slow motion so you can see it. See, what they are using is hand cannons. It's not a regular pistol that they're using, so they are fairly strong in that regard. Oh, Warzag is closing in on my army, and if he uses a Foot of Gork, that's gonna be pretty bad. Though he is level 16, he might just not have it, since it's on the lower end of... Oh, he's using... He's wasting Winds of Magic on Fell Bats. See, this is the value of Fell Bats. Sometimes the enemy considers a threat something that isn't even remotely a threat. It's very silly in that regard. But no, the center line is actually shredding... Oh, Warzag quite nicely. I didn't have to concern myself as much as I thought I would. Now, what I am concerned is that I definitely overextended my Varghali, so I will heal it up. Still the big advantage, of course, of being a single entity. So I was getting hit with Death Magic. They do have a River Troll Hag figures. Well, Warzag is history, and yeah, they're pretty much done. Oh, this is a bolt thrower, but without the... Okay, now let's try it. Oh, I mean, see, victory. I definitely took a little more damage than I realistically should have, but that's on account of my bad micro, not on account of this army. This is a very strong army with a lot of chevrons. Really, this is down to me just not being as quick and responsive, and me trying to showcase things. Basically talk and think strategically at the same time. But yeah, it wasn't meant to be any special battle or big risk. I'm doing quite well in the campaign. I think a lose condition would be very unlikely, because I do have what little territory I have is being protected, and I'm pretty much just having fun playing as a pirate and tormenting the enemies. It's pretty much equivalent to the mechanics that you get as Golg with the ogres, where it's a very mercenary playthrough, and you don't really hold a lot of territory, but you are going around causing all kinds of trouble. And you can empire build, same as you can with Golg, but yeah, it's very enjoyable. Anyway, I just want to show off the Varghali, like you've seen. It did take damage, it could have been caught in a very bad position, but it also pulled its weight, and it performed admirably. So yeah, it's a very nice weapons platform and more mobile than the rest of the army. I think if the Vampire Coast does get an update, I would like for its centerpiece to be something like it. Something that adds a little mobility, and I do like the fact that it's a ship. You know, the Marienburg land ship is such a ridiculous concept, and since the vampires steal stuff from the Empire all the time, I see no reason why they couldn't have it. It's just another form of ship on land for you to be very piratey, and it's very silly and over the top, like a lot of Warhammer. So yeah, I believe this is it. Yeah, decisive victory. But yeah, as you can see, very easy victory. Wasn't really a question to begin with. I'm gonna go for the treasury, of course. Just to show off the yeah, just to show off the replenishment. Uh, I could still move a little bit, and I definitely will to get closer to
Move again soon.
here
Rest now. March later.
to hit this up soon. But just to show off the other mod with the flagship expansion. As you can see, I have two options: full speed and the normal stance doesn't do anything. But if as soon as I hit the flagship expansion, as you can see at this level, upkeep is quite low at sea thanks to the mod because it's additive to everything else, both from the Great Cabin, from the ship's wheel, from Plutor's own skills with Pirate King, and because I did invest in Black Flag and a bit into combing and preservative. Now, could I get this down to 0? I haven't tested it, but you probably can, just seeing how much it dropped, like in half. So you can pretty much have kind of free upkeep at sea, but probably just with specific characters and specific skill investments. And probably won't hold up as well if you have a lot of supply lines. But it's still good. You can have basically, if you're struggling with your economy, you can spend some time at sea and recover, which I think it gives you a big incentive to be more at sea than just being on land like any other faction would. So yeah, I believe this is what I wanted to showcase. I mean, anything else would just be me going through a campaign as usual. Compared to a usual pirate campaign in vanilla, this was pretty much um, kind of the same spirit of it. I think I was more in the spirit of wanting to go around at sea rather than sticking to the land as I might want to, or expanding and grabbing all this territory. What I done instead is try and fight factions and then try and make peace with people who are at war with them. So I have a kind of buffer zone and I can just go around sailing as a pirate and just enjoy the campaign. So this, you can already do in vanilla, but
It is
what
forbidden.
I did get with the mods was I have more funds to do it earlier on. I don't have to hold more territory and just be pirates in the land. I can be sailing around having fun. So this frees up the playstyle and it gets the ball rolling faster, I believe, because, for instance, the Shipbreaker Yard, this does give me very key units very early on. I think the most broken of these is definitely the deck gunners because this is a building you can pop up anywhere and you get access to a tier 4 unit, but at the same time a lot of stuff has that kind of power spike, and I don't
Not in
think
this
it's
world
the
or
worst
the other.
thing in the world. Is this perfectly balanced? No, absolutely not. But it does give a little bit of spice. The tech tree also gives some extra stuff, and you can build up to it. So I have goals for the long term. I have goodies for the short term that make this worthwhile. So it does make the experience a little more fun and a little more in line with how factions are being made in recent times, where you have a lot more uh, power spiking and goodies. Of course, this isn't perfect, it's just a recommended mod list to kind of tide us over until we may get a possible update, and I hope we do. I know the Vampire Coast isn't exactly in the priority list or big on popularity, but I hope we do get some goodies. Especially since next DLC might be something sea related. I'm hoping maybe they throw us a bone, even if it's just with the free updates, they just give us a little something. Doesn't even have to be something big, but just a pass, quality of life changes. But in the meantime, I think this mod list gives you a fresh new way to play that's vanilla adjacent. And although it's a little unbalanced, definitely, I find it enjoyable and refreshing. It lets me just be a pirate. So yeah, that's it for this longer video, and see you in the next one.